What's going on, guys? It's been far too long. Sorry for the delay. For everybody that's been chomping at the bit, waiting, thinking about us, dreaming about us. It's Ramble episode 3 time. Clark and Coby's Republic Ramble, brought to you by Wrestling Republic and the good folks at YouTube, Spotify, everywhere you can find your podcasts. What a weekend in pro wrestling to make our return. Speaking of returns, Coby Galenzoski also making his return. Had a reviewing from good old WR as mentioned before. But there was there another return this weekend, Coby, that we might get into on the old Rambler?
I believe we should, because it was one of the biggest, most talked about returns in pro wrestling right now. Wrestling Twitter's comparing it to CM Punk's. I'm not going to get into that, but holy shit, Bray Wyatt is back.
Yes.
After all the weeks of the QR codes, the
White Rabbit. How hard did we pop on the watch party, Coby? All of us. I mean,
we popped loudly.
I mean, they were doing the Holy S chant early in this YouTube video too. No cursing, guys. Remember that. Holy S chants from the crowd. We were chanting Holy S, saying Holy S, tons of S's, S words flying around like it was nobody's business. All of us. Not only did we get Bray Wyatt though, Cobb, didn't we get most of the Funhouse as life-size characters? Like, what the heck's going on? It was as good of a return as you could freaking ask for, right? Like, it doesn't get any better than the reaction in Philly and all of that. My biggest question to you, though, it would be like, where do we go now? Because we got tomorrow night, Monday Night Raw. We might see, I mean, might get into this. Is Joe Gacy Huskus? Is Bo Dallas the Fiend? Is right? I mean, what do you think? You talk to me, Goose. Let's hear it.
Well, I mean, like originally I was kind of like, this is a way to wrap things up. A lot of people in wrestling believe in continuity. There's people like Alexa Bliss who always wants her character to be evolving, which should be a very good thing. Bray Wyatt obviously believes in it because the new hire for WWE for the director of long-term creative is Rob Fee, which is a close connection to Wyatt. So it's obviously Bray Wyatt was pushing for this guy to come in with him. And I think another name is Aleister Black / Malachi Black. He kept the eye gimmick that happened when he had his eye pushed
long-term storytelling
in
absolutely
the WWE, and he kept it to shape his character in AEW. So Bray Wyatt, I think obviously does believe in that continuity with this wrap-up situation, but I don't know if it's a matter of this is him wrapping it up or the beginning of the Wyatt 6 or the Windham 6. WWE did post some tweets, stating his name is Bray Wyatt. Because one of the things I was gonna say after the fact, I was like, do we know this is Bray Wyatt or is this Windham something?
That's a great
question. Been a different character? Could he have been Windham the Creator? Something like that.
And so
there could have been a different name, but they have addressed him as Bray Wyatt.
That is that, by the way, was you not. I'm not blaming you. It was, you're just on top of it. But that was going to be a follow-up question was, do we know he's Bray Wyatt? Is he the Fiend? What the heck is he? Like, is he is he just White Rabbit? Is he Wyatt Rabbit? Is he Wyndham Rabbit? Is he, the Bunny Rabbit? Whatever. Is he Bugs Bunny? I don't know. But now that that's settled, we know he's Bray Wyatt. Character-wise, and I don't want to go full into fantasy booking. We talked a little bit about it off air, and there's been numerous things presented. Do you think there's room for? Do you think there's room for him to run a similar scenario where he plays multiple characters the way he did in the past, where he was cult leader Wyatt one day, and then he was the Fiend, and then he was Firefly Funhouse Bray? Or do you think this is a scenario where he's going to lean into one character and go about it that way?
I mean, like I said, this is also based on what's next. And like, if we are seeing a faction, I think he could very well be the person to do one Swamp Wyatt, this Wyatt, and if he needs to be the Fiend, he can be the Fiend.
Face is a fully,
but if he's doing a group, I still think it's either way he would do it. But I don't know if that's going to be a thing that happens if this isn't the Wyatt 6 and this is whatever Wyatt this is, where it's just him doing this new character, this new direction. We know he really can't be in the title picture because that we don't need him in that picture because he's bigger than that. That's like
I agree there.
The title. He
and
doesn't
that's
need it.
Learning from the past too, right? There, Coby. Like,
exactly.
They made that mistake in the past. We both know that. And not to say that it was like, oh, it was egregious or anything like that. It just it didn't exactly land. In the past.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would want to delve into that. That's with the Fiend.
I've got a bit of a theory though, Coby, by the way. No, I do want to delve into this. Similar, and I don't want to cut you off fully, but I've got a bit of a theory. I think Bray's going to bring back an entity that's nastier than the Fiend. I think he's going to use the Fiend almost as like a look.
Not bring back?
No. Like, instead of bringing back I think the Fiend will play a role in the narrative per se, right? Like the way that, so Ben Allison, right? You saw the report, whatever he talked about, that he thought it was Bo Dallas in the Fiend outfit. I think the Fiend might exist almost as a joke. And when Bray wrestles masked after, I think whatever the scary entity that he brings back is going to be booked and going to be built in a way that it's not the Fiend that got burnt alive and then lived, and then it's not the Fiend that lost all these, right? He's going to kick that to the curb and retool. It won't be called the Fiend. It won't be, but whatever this next character is, that's not necessarily just Bray, but that he can dive and delve into, it will be the scariest of them all. In a way, almost Undertaker-like, almost, right? And that's kind of I think that would be the best way you can go too, and I don't know what you would call it or what it is, but I just think that's something that could be really interesting. If there's some truth to this Wyatt 6 thing, and there's some truth to maybe Bo Dallas being the Fiend per se, and then the other characters, the Gacy Huskus connection. I don't know if you saw, but I mean, given the Hawaiian shirt, I thought it looked a little bit like Grayson Waller. And
the Buzzer, Mercy the Buzzer did, that body type did look like, I mean, I'm not going to say Grayson has big arms. Grayson has a bit of smaller arms, and it did look
long, lanky, no tattoos Grayson. Is the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's no knock on like how he looks, whatever.
We're not.
No, you and I aren't those guys that say that, but no, just like it looked like it could be great. Long arms, long legs, and under the costume and in the Hawaiian shirt, it looked like Grayson Waller. And I think, I mean, there's so many directions they can go. Tomorrow night's Raw is just going to be fascinating. That's where I would leave it. But what are your thoughts on any of that? Do you have any other theories that you maybe like, what's your B theory on what Wyatt does from here?
Well, I don't know. The more we go through the day and like the more it has been digested about the Wyatt 6 situation, it does seem like it's going to be a faction. But then again, it's like the question is, why should this go to Raw? Because, I mean, SmackDown almost could use it, but I mean, I digress with that situation.
Now, by the way, that's another discussion. We actually talked about this last night, but I'm down to do this on air. I'm going to let you finish your thought here. But let's talk about the Wyatt to SmackDown or Raw next. Are you cool with that? Can we
Okay.
hit the audible on that? I think that's a good discussion, but finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think this was I mean, I don't know. I'm going to sound like a broken record with the continuity stuff. I think this is this new variation, this new person of Wyatt, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I want to see Wyatt 6 as a faction. I kind of would prefer him being a lone entity, but because when originally it was like, oh, this could be the faction. We got Loomis could be in it, Cross could be in it. I think Abby was Scarlet and whatever else. But I was like, the first thing I thought of is if you're gonna bring Cross in such a big way, going after the top babyface of SmackDown, Drew McIntyre, and you're gonna demote him to I don't want to say a lackey, but you're going to demote him to a side character of a massive faction. I don't see that working. So if this is true that there is a Wyatt 6, it has to be new people. If not, the only other person could be Alexa Bliss. Now, this is where I'm just going to mention this is when Sister Abigail was there, she had the mask on, which was one of two tributes to Brody Lee because it was the Bludgeon Brothers mask.
Right.
And the other one was the bluish, whitish light when the door opened, similar to the Exalted One reveal.
Right.
Beside Abby the Witch or Sister Abigail, whichever one it was, almost on the barricade or wherever, there were two titles hanging.
Right.
In the light. And Alexa Bliss is a history maker with that, as she was the first to win the SmackDown and the Raw Women's Championship. The first to hold them both.
Two-timer.
I think she's either a two-time SmackDown, three-time Raw. I think two.
Oh yeah. No, I just meant
something like that. But
she was the first to do both.
Yeah, she was the first to officially hold both titles. Yeah. Now I think that is a connection. That's another. That's obviously another shoot. Or not another shot. That's like there's a lot of shooting in the dark on wrestling Twitter, on wrestling media in general. Of course. So I mean, I don't know, but I guess to say it is we did see all the characters come to life, but then they were shown dead in the final.
Okay, by the way, I'm not calling out Ben Allison, but I will say this. I said that Bo Dallas would be the White Rabbit. I did my Alice in Wonderland pitch, but 4 hours before the show started, did I not say we would get lifelike Firefly Funhouse characters, and we got like Firefly Funhouse characters. Woof, tongue twister. And I got no credit, Coby, none, not a lick. I called that way before the show. You saw it. Go check the messages. It was right there. I'm like, we're getting lifelike Firefly Funhouse characters. That's still hard to say, dude. Now it's twice. But I mean, we were right. Like, no credit, not the point, and either way, but I think that part of it, and back to the Liv Morgan thing, we talked about this too. I think Liv Morgan fits the role as well as Alexa does. I don't know which one is going to be the one that in the long run takes on the responsibility, but I think either fits. Let's get into the Raw and SmackDown thing. You really think Bray needs to go to SmackDown?
I think SmackDown needs an act that is going to be interesting.
But who to feud with?
I don't know.
Because how can you send him to SmackDown and keep him away from Roman? That's my problem.
Well, I guess it depends, really. Like, are you putting him in the position to be a heel or a face as well? Obviously, it's going to be hard to boo that guy.
I don't even know if it matters.
Nobody has ever been able to boo that guy.
No.
Since like he was over when he won the title when he was a heel facing Randy Orton, or in the feud with Randy Orton, and John when he won the Elimination Chamber. He was supposed to be a heel as the Fiend. I don't like. I mean, this was a thing that Dutch Mantel actually. I guess now that we're on this topic, Dutch Mantel had an issue with it, saying that Bray Wyatt never got over in the direction he was supposed to be. Now, I mean, obviously that's how I would say it is, yes, he never got over as a heel because he was always cheered. But at the same time, to say he never got over, I digress.
I mean, we saw the pop last night. I would say he's over. It's funny because too, and I'm not calling you out on this, and I'm not calling anybody out on this, but we did have a lot of discussions about MJF just staying off screen, and then eventually got the money he wanted in AEW and all that. Bray Wyatt, I don't know what the details of the contract are, but kind of did the same thing. He goes, okay. He got cut too. He was in a worse position.
Yes,
he just sat and didn't. I'm not saying he didn't do anything. I'm sure he did things.
Well, he did the one.
His value only increased by staying away long enough that people really, really wanted him back.
I mean, I think this is opposite. I don't want to say this is opposite, but I think it was from the position of he did more than just sit on his ass. Like, he did the movie thing, and there was that connection was made with everyone saying he's misused.
There's also a difference because one was not under contract and one was.
Yes.
So MJF couldn't have just gone and done a movie, right?
I think he would have needed to go to AEW through that. Yeah.
My point is that Bray Wyatt could have gone and worked indie shows. He did not.
He did signings.
He did signings.
But see, that's the thing is I think if you're viewing a point of what this guy needs to do what he does, is he needs those resources that WWE has. I don't people want to say yes, he got his money. I'm pretty sure he got his money. I don't think he got a massive cut in his contract from what it was when he originally got cut.
I would imagine he got more money than he was paid before.
I wouldn't say a lot more, maybe a couple $100,000 more, maybe if it was maybe 3.5 million, something like that. I don't think they would have given him too high of a contract, even though they know they are going to make money on him. But I think, like I said, the resources WWE has is the only reason you could ever see this guy in WWE.
See, I don't know.
Like I said, this is, if you look at AEW, you can look at it as AEW's not kind of built upon that. They did do 2 cinematic matches and the 1 deletion with Sammy, and then the Sting Darby versus Team Taz one. I think they don't have the resources to do this spooky type of character, and they especially don't have the creative to do this.
I would say I think AEW has the resources, but I don't think that direction creatively, to your point. So I'm not saying they have as many resources as WWE. They would have the resources to make him successful, but I think creative direction wise, he really doesn't fit the mold. So it's I think it's more that necessarily than a resources issue. I do think, right? The Stadium Stampede, the Anarchy in the Arena, they can put on some pretty elaborate stuff, but I also don't think a supernatural character is something that they're super interested in.
No,
per se.
Well, no, because they're this is another conversation for another day, but I'll briefly mention it. AEW wants to be a sports-like product.
Yes.
And there's a lot to delve into that conversation. That's not something an Extreme Rules post show should have.
Yeah, while character driven, that's I was saying, I agree with you. Let's move along. You're right.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I think if he was gonna go elsewhere, he would have gone to Impact,
right,
or the Freddie Prinze Jr. one.
Freddie Prinze would have made sense.
Yeah,
I was about to say the same thing. Okay.
I do have one more question about Bray Wyatt.
Let's hear it.
This is obviously off camera that you've said this. You were all about a theory about the White Rabbit and the Mad Hatter saying, "Oh, you're 2 days late," because the White Rabbit's clock is 2 days late. And you were saying you wanted Wyatt on Raw. And if we weren't getting some form of White Rabbit, this would be bad storytelling.
Okay, so first of all, that is so mean of you to throw me under the bus like that. That's fine. I'll say this. I absolutely said that word for word. Not that it would be. I said bad storytelling as a joke, just to really more of a. Let me explain here. I really love the Alice in Wonderland collection or connection on the whole White Rabbit narrative. And the clock is 2 days late. I thought it'd be really cool to have a messenger essentially absolutely give away Wyatt. We got Wyatt in the flesh last night, all of that. I wanted a similar thing, but like a giveaway that you're getting Wyatt Monday, but for the season premiere. I thought that would be really cool if they did that, and especially because of the parallels. And then he's the Mad Hatter. The way I look at it now, and it's funny because I've thought about it too, Coby, and I think you'll like this because I don't even know if I've actually said this to you. I look at it now and I go, I don't think that story's dead. Wyatt last night was the White Rabbit. Who's the Mad Hatter on Monday? The White Rabbit leads you to the Mad Hatter. Bray with the thing, right? That exists.
I think it's still very
too.
yeah, it's very much possible.
It's very much in play, and I'm not saying that's no guarantee.
Like, I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, I thought of that all of a sudden, and I was like, what if I thought so too far into it that it's over even my head there? Wyatt is his own White Rabbit. And then whatever entity, whether it's the Fiend again, whether it's the Wyatt Six, whether it's the Mad Hatter comes next, right? From that storytelling perspective. And so it's funny, as much as, like, of course, I loved joking around about that. And like, we had so much fun going in this paper. And this weekend of wrestling, guys, was so much fun. And like, honestly, like to work at Wrestling Republic and get to hang and talk wrestling with everybody about all the shows going in is like the most fun part. And so like, we're now like leaking stuff we talked about before the show into this show. But the point is, like, I of course was being a smart ass and messing with them and saying certain things about, like, if they don't do this, it's going to be bad. It was great. What they did was great. I'll be the first to say that. Like, come on. They're chanting holy. I led with their chanting holy shit. And I was too. But I still think the White Rabbit Mad Hatter narrative is in play. And not only that, whatever they do tomorrow night, it's gonna be so interesting. And that's where I think he needs to be on Raw because of the 3-hour aspect. I don't think you can keep him away from Roman as the champion on SmackDown long enough. I think it's too many. It's too. Because I agree with you, Coby, that the SmackDown roster needs a boost. I think Bray Wyatt is too much of a close to being the face of the brand type that he can't possibly avoid leaking into the Roman stuff, especially given their history, no matter what direction they go. And that's why I think he needs to be on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Seth Rollins. I'd like to see Riddle.
Do you want to see Seth
go to SmackDown?
Seth and Bray? Oh, I thought you were going to say Seth and Bray again.
No. I'd like to see both of those two go to SmackDown. That would be great. And then Bray on Raw. Because I think you
could go either way. Seth could be a feud for Gunther, and so could Riddle. Because I don't know what.
Both could be feuds. And both could be feuds with Reigns.
With Roman, yeah.
So it's
well, I think Riddle can't face Roman anymore because of the stipulation that he lost. I forgot
about that. He did lose that match.
He did.
Well, no, but you can have him feud, and the stip doesn't allow him to have the match. But then you have like the Orton comeback, maybe. I guess is what
potential,
right?
Potential.
That could work.
I mean, I don't want to say this fucks it up, but this is where we see this is the draft isn't coming into play yet, and it for the last 3 years it has been at this time of year. Now it's obviously going to be after Mania, which obviously it should because you're riding off the momentum from WrestleMania, Raw after Mania, all that. But I got one question, and I don't want you to elaborate. From a standpoint, outside of you being there live, for a pay-per-view ending, which was better? Bray Wyatt or All Out 21?
Okay, wait. All Out 21, you're talking about the Cole and
Danielson Cole. Yeah. The double debut of All Out, where that was the paradigm shift for AEW and Almost Wrestling.
I'd call it close to a wash.
Because that's the thing, is I know that's why I was like, I had to preface it with.
Yeah. I was there, right? I was in the
round.
fifth row. That moment was electric. But I also recognize what that crowd looked like, right? Like, I've been in some hot crowds. That the crowd in Philly was off the charts that night. I would call it unbiasedly, I'd pick All Out 21. Unbiasedly, I'd call it a wash. And that's almost as big of a compliment as I can give. Yeah, I'd call it a wash. I think they were both so well booked. I think the second surprise of All Out 21 would be the only thing I would argue of, and then the fact that they got physical, but also part of that goes into what they did when the cameras turned off and they did the post-show, right? In my head, that's where my mind goes. That stuff was great. Brian hits the psycho knee twice, right? Like, but I'm such a big Bray Wyatt fan. Wow, that is a great question, by the way. That's a hard one.
I think that's good for that Instagram.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's as good as I can do there.
That's good for the Instagram to get the people talking. Definitely.
Okay, wait. By the way, I was gonna say, this is making me laugh. We've talked about Extreme Rules now for nearly a half hour, and we haven't spoken
about one thing. Yeah,
single match.
It's time to move on. It's time to move to that. Yes.
How do you feel about the main event? Let's start there. Let's go backwards. Let's go the wrong way.
The wrong way?
Yeah, let's go.
You want to go with the fight pit? Okay, we can go with the Rollins Riddle fight pit. We saw Riddle tap out Seth Rollins in the fight pit
via triangle.
I do want to say it was a solid match. Like, everything was done smoothly. There was a good amount of innovative stuff involved. I do think the crowd was, we need Wyatt, and there is like they were prematurely focused on Bray Wyatt to the point of the really only hot part of the crowd was Seth's theme for both the entrance and when he was on top of the
I was going to say something very similar,
dancing.
And like, dude, feel free to jump in if you totally disagree, but I thought, dang, this is such like a slugfest of a cool match. But if it wasn't for this Wyatt like cloud that hung over it, like this gray cloud of like, well, this is the main event. He's either coming or he's not, right? Like, we're either getting Wyatt or we're not. And it just took away from the match. If they were the opener, I think it would have been the match of the night, right? Like, that's what I was going to say to you. I think if they were the opener in that fight pit, the way that the Rob Van Dam shout out, the entrances were great. I thought Riddle broke his tailbone on the floating bro. The whole match was really good. It was all about Wyatt. And that's not their fault. I thought that was position on the card. And I don't know who else could have held that position other than them. Like, who else would you put there? But at the same time, if you move that match almost anywhere else, and I especially think in the first spot, if you open with that fight pit with Cormier getting physical with both and all that stuff, that match was an absolute slugfest. The grappling to I don't know who deserves more credit, Riddle or Rollins, but the high level like jiu-jitsu stuff that he started to attempt in some of the exchanges, I was like, this is so fun to watch. I mean, you know, my personal opinion, I'd love to see Jimmy Smith on that call, but that's not the point. I thought that that's a spot he deserved and earned over the last year. And you know, there's nobody more equipped to do that, but either way, I still enjoyed the match. I thought Cormier did actually a great job. I really did.
I think there was that one biff where
there was
like,
one awkward
he
spot.
gave him this stomp, and I don't know if he was told, hey, check on Middle, make sure he's good, instead of, hey, start counting, because of course he did have the earpiece that all refs have. Like I do, like I know you said that. I feel free to say I disagree, and I don't. I totally agree with. There was that cloud. There was that. Okay, this is make or break for WWE. If Wyatt doesn't show up, we riot type of thing. If he didn't show up, you would have saw the boycott WWE stuff.
And by the way, that's half the reason I was making the jokes going in about like if we don't get Wyatt, it's right. Like I was messing with you about that over the group chat. Like the whole like you know what I mean. Like if we don't get Wyatt, it's terrible. Which isn't exactly the truth, right? Like, no, it could be still great without him, but obviously, but by that point, it felt so inevitable in a sense, not in a negative way, not that it was like telegraphed. I wouldn't call it telegraphed at all because there was so much speculation, even for the hardcore fans. But I do think that it really saddled with like what could have been a really cool type of match with a tough thing to overcome for Riddle and Rollins, right? Like they had to overcome the layer of Wyatt almost.
They did, and they did have that layer to overcome, and I don't want to say as much as talented as Seth and Riddle are, and they were good. I don't think they did.
Yeah, it was just and I think it was an impossible situation though, personally.
Yes,
because I also, it's funny. I went actually back and watched the match this morning, and so like knowing why it's coming after, I just watched it and I was like, no, it was really really good, and I'm glad we gave it 4 stars, right?
Yeah,
and I'm glad we did. It deserved it. It was an awesome. The RVD shout out, all of this stuff, but it was just completely overshadowed. That was ironically because there were 2 of my favorite parts of the whole event, but it was ironically like also one of those things where I was like, dang, man. But at the same time, I don't know which match you could have slotted there to maybe a US title match with Lashley
in the main event.
That's what I mean, like a squash or something. Like
I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, if like that's the thing is I don't know what. Like I agree. I don't know if there
I don't know
was
who can occupy that
thing.
spot. It's just not. Yeah, unless it was like a Reigns match, even. But then then how do you keep Wyatt away from Reigns?
Have that cloud, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
even then you'd still have that cloud if it was a Wyatt.
Yeah,
see, that was the thing. If you look, I mean, I do have Fightful, and it said all this stuff. It said the other match that was slated could have gone last was the Belair and Bayley match. We'll get to that, but I think that could have because it was almost like, well, we know he isn't going to attack any of them.
That actually would have made more sense.
We could have easily had Wyatt emerging in the fight pit, beating up Rollins, or Sister Abigail to Rollins and Riddle.
And like, dude, what Coby, happened, I think that is such a good point too. By the way,
that could have happened, but I think.
But I wonder if the fear on the WWE's end on booking that match in the main event is if the crowd hijacks that one. It's such a bad look.
Yes, that too.
Right? Like, you can't, because of the moment and given the record for Bianca Belair and everything like that, I actually, that makes a lot of sense now why you would do it the way they did it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, if you were going that way of an overwhelming or not an underwhelming match, you could have put the strap there. Because it wasn't what it should have been.
Yes,
It was good enough. It was solid, good enough for what it was. And
Strap
I'll say
match
this
might
again.
have actually made. Although, I mean,
I'll say this again all the time. Cross's presentation and everything, his entrance, it's phenomenal. If you're looking from a standpoint of Cross as an in-ring product wrestler, he's that B+ player. He's nothing. He's not a lot special aside
Coby,
from the fact
I'm
that he
so
is
with you on that.
I don't want to say an MMA guy, but he has those abilities.
He does, but at the same time, I'm kind of with you because, and I think also even last night, like they need to lean into the influence of Scarlett. She's the key to the operation. She should not be there just as eye candy manager. She needs to be the one like that is at the helm almost, because of the way when Cross was at his best, it almost seems like Scarlett. It's not that she's controlling him, but it's like she is the one kind of like behind the scenes calling the shots for like your time's up. And last night it just looked to me like she was more of an accessory. And that was frustrating, I thought. You know, in that match.
In terms of that match, I do feel the opposite. I feel like because we saw images of Cross whipping Drew and Scarlett cheering him on and saying more. She
did call some shots.
Exactly. She called the shots. She's the reason Cross went over. She's the reason they did what. She's the reason Cross's promise of "you're gonna suffer" was kept.
I wonder if that match would have been better as a dog collar than a strap.
I don't want to say it this way. I don't know if you would have been able to compare because we already had 2 dog collars in Punk and
MJF. Yeah,
and,
that's a good point. And Brody Cody.
Well, that didn't happen last year. This year, I'm talking
this year. You mean? Yeah,
I'm talking this year.
I just meant of late.
I meant the other one I was talking about was the Wild Boar versus Eddie Dennis one.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Solid.
You showed me that one, by the way. That was a good match.
Yeah, we watched. Well, we watched. No,
we watched it together.
We it was solid enough. Obviously couldn't compare. And I don't think you want to say, okay, well, I don't think you could physically get a match that could compare with Punk and MJF unless it was
Punk
Seth
and
MJF
Roman. Was pretty up.
Unless it was Seth and Roman. You're not going to be able to. Drew McIntyre and Cross would not be able to sniff the Punk MJF dog collar match.
Well, I mean, by the way, you can't say dog collar without saying Roddy Piper. So shout out Roddy Piper.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
What else was I going to say though? What? Okay, wait. You tell me, which match do you want to talk about next? Let's pivot. Let's do another match.
Yeah. Okay, so we just did the main event, of course. We'll do that one later, and we'll do those 2 later.
Which one?
You're gonna have to wait and find out.
Oh, you keep the secret from me.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking in the back of the head, you'll be able to
I'm kidding. I got it.
You'll be able to figure it out.
Which one? You tell me.
Right now, let's kind of talk about the situation WWE put themselves in with Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
So Liv has gone on to pin Ronda Rousey twice this year. And obviously she had that phenomenal moment of winning the briefcase, cashing in. The world was her oyster at that point. SummerSlam was a method of this. These 2 did not work in the ring. I don't want to say it's the phoney.
It was a whack match.
It's hard to put.
Let me sum this up in 2 words. It was a whack match.
Both was a whack match. Both
the SummerSlam one though
were whack.
The SummerSlam was a whack match.
Bad because it was almost Rousey just decimating and Liv Morgan getting almost one thing and then winning.
It was like
Liv Morgan could not it was almost a squash match.
It was a Darby Allin match without the car accidents.
That's a good analogy. And then this one was there was a lot. I don't want to say they don't have the chemistry. It's not my position to say this because I'm not an actual wrestler. I don't think their styles meshed because I don't we've seen this through Rousey's career in the WWE. It is hard to put someone in the ring with Ronda Rousey and have them look good. We've seen that with two people and two people only. Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. Not even Becky Lynch has looked good with Ronda.
I would almost argue Charlotte just matched intensity. And this is not a knock on Charlotte. And I have the same thing as you where I'm not a wrestler. So as a performer, I'm not a performer. I can't say that really. But at the same time, as great as Charlotte was with Ronda, I thought actually Charlotte kind of brought Ronda along. Sasha's the only one I've ever seen that like a glove was just look, she found a rhythm somehow and this is a credit to Ronda Rousey. I think she's an incredible athlete.
Yes.
One of the best of our generations. Everything she does in a pro wrestling ring looks of pure violence. Her facial expressions look of pure violence, right? When she does a hip toss, it's a judo Olympic caliber hip toss. It's not a headlock takeover, right? It's not the same as MJF's, I'm going to beat you with a headlock takeover. No, it's not the same. It's a freaking hip toss. And you get pancaked on your back every time. And it's always impressive. And her grappling acumen is always impressive. And her ability to adapt and do that stuff, I really like Liv Morgan too. I think Liv Morgan's off the charts. We discussed earlier. I don't mind whether it's Liv or Alexa or both that are a part of the Wyatt thing. I think Liv was underrated. I was stoked when she won at Money in the Bank. I can't fathom a universe where Liv Morgan locks up a submission on Ronda Rousey. I just can't. It doesn't exist. And I understand they tested a lot of grappling stuff, but when Liv's digging for an armbar halfway through the match on Ronda, it's and Ronda's power bombing her way out of it. It's what do you mean? Ronda would turn it into a knee bar and snap her ankle. That's the part where I get hung up on that one. And I don't think it's either of their fault. It's not. And I think it's just a bad position. I think they have a legitimate friendship from what we've all heard, right?
Yeah, Ronda I think they are very close in general.
And I think that part of it makes
it is
it
true
cool,
that Rousey's photographer said that Ronda wanted the title to go to the most deserving person, and that was Liv Morgan. And I do think there is this thing, and I again, like we said, Liv was underrated, and this year was almost her breakout year.
She still broke out. She broke out.
She did. She was given the position in a Becky Lynch rivalry to tear the house down, and then she moved on. She had a lot of people invested in.
She had the documentary last year
with Rhea Ripley. Yes, she had a lot of people invested in her stuff with Rhea Ripley, Live for Brutality, and then her stuff with the Judgment Day, teaming with Styles and Balor, blah, 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 and then the Money in the Bank. She was really the only person everyone was going to accept as a winner, and now this is almost I want to say this is her breakout year, but this is the one almost down negative point that you can say. And I do want to admit, hold on, I do have one thing else to say. Okay. I do want to admit I was lying. Okay. So 3 people were made to look good in the ring with Ronda Rousey: Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Stephanie McMahon.
Great call.
Stephanie was fine.
I forgot.
That WrestleMania, the
great
debut
monster
match,
shout out.
Stephanie looked fine.
Monster shout out Stephanie McMahon. Okay, no, but hear me out on this. So I think this still is her breakout year, and she's broken out. And we had talked about this on the way that she lost the match. I think that was the best part of it. And here's why. I think what happened with Liv Morgan was super organic. I don't know if anybody's ever been more over on a reality show than Liv Morgan. She, right? Like, you watch a reality show, and generally people are going to make fun of people on a reality show or whatever. On Total Divas, there was nobody more likable than Liv Morgan. In her documentary,
wasn't an official member either.
She was on the season 9. She was. She
Not
gets
an official member.
Yes, she was. They bring her mom. I watched the whole thing with my mom. They bring her mom in the season finale to Hawaii, and she gets stung by she gets cut by Coral with Natty. But yeah, she was an official member. And so anyway, nobody's ever been more over than Liv Morgan on that. Then the documentary comes out, and she's
still okay. So according to Wikipedia,
so likable.
Okay, I mean, I do want to shut this down. According to Wikipedia, season 9, starring Naomi, Natalia, Carmella, Nia Jax, Ronda Rousey, Sonya Deville. Liv Morgan was not an official top
season finale or whatever.
member.
She
was on.
Coral,
yes, she's on. She was on Total Divas.
Whatever. Not the point. It's not about that. Now you're cutting me off, dude.
That was the point.
What the heck? Anyway, we've got Liv Morgan. So Liv, she's over there. The documentary is amazing. Her backstory is incredible. She's awesome in the ring. She was awesome in the Riot Squad. Pretty much anybody that's ever been around her vouches for her, and that's a good sign, generally speaking. Then from there, she in the ring goes and does things that she's never done before and is awesome the whole way. The only knock on her I've heard that makes any sense is Liv Morgan the person, not Liv Morgan the character, is over. Now she has an opportunity to work a gimmick if she's going to go do this Bray Wyatt thing. And that's where I'm like, holy hell. Even if it's not that, whatever she's going to do from here, leaning into that because it's not because she was against Ronda Rousey. It's because she got there on just being Liv Morgan. And that's not a knock on her. But then they didn't know what to do with it from there. Because it was like, she's going to have a chance to really show depth to what she can do character-wise, lean into that stuff, whatever it is, even if it's not Wyatt related, whatever it is, based on that reaction beyond the Rousey match, I'll number one say I still maintain it's her breakout year. It has been since the beginning. It is. If you win the Money in the Bank and the Women's Championship in the same night in Las Vegas, it's your breakout year. You broke out. And not only that, deserved. She's awesome. I'm a Liv Morgan diehard. The fact of the matter is, though, I do think some sort of development character-wise, outside of just we love her from the documentary, we love her from Divas, whether she was on 3 episodes as a minor character or not. We like her on line, whatever, all of that, right? Like everybody, it's really hard to dislike Liv Morgan, period, right? But I think where she can go from here is that's going to be really cool to see. It's not that she has to prove to solidify the breakout, but I think she kind of will. Like, she's in a position to to fully now do the finalize. Like in 4 months, do the now what thing,
to be able to finalize this as her breakout year. Yes.
Yeah.
And I do actually have this point based on this result of the match. Now I want to say, like, yes, I understand the acumen of like Ronda Rousey of who she is, what she is, the talent she brings to the table.
Yeah.
But I do want to say this: the SmackDown Women's Division has nobody for her except for Shayna Baszler. I am more interested as a fan in still Liv Morgan's next move. This is my bias. I don't see the appeal in what's next for Rousey.
Yeah.
But I'm still interested in Liv Morgan, and I thought she did a really good job because I went to the live event the week before Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
And I saw her. Obviously, some happens because of Hurricane Ian. I couldn't see some of the Brawling Brutes. Matches changed. It was supposed to be Liv and Shayna. It became Liv and Sonya. And Liv was one of 4 people to do this. And she spent extra time engaging with the fans, taking photos. And I'll give you the names. It was her. It was Top Dollar, which I gained a lot of respect for Top Dollar.
AJ Francis.
And then it was AJ Francis. And then it was of course in the main event, Sheamus and Drew. Sheamus Drew versus Imperium. But like that's the thing, and seeing that, especially in the live format of a live event, that made me say she shouldn't be losing this title. We saw in July after she won the title that she was selling merch. Higher ups were impressed. Officials were impressed with how well she was doing as a champion for live events. That's what it was like. Okay, so this could go on a little longer, and I'd be fine with it. But it was like I don't want it. And I mean, obviously, we've kind of both already said this. I don't think this championship reign was a failure for her.
No, not at all.
I
agree.
As people want to say
100%. No.
People say that.
Absolutely not. She's always a champion. And not only that, she deserved it. And to organically get over in the way she did in the first place was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She did it like she right? You talk about like cuts and bruises or whatever. She hard weighed her way to the championship. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's something to be said about that. No doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, let's move on. So Extreme Rules also had a couple other matches. Obviously, we kind of spoke about the strap match. We briefly talked about the ladder match, but let's kind of go into this now. What are your thoughts? Let's do it brief because we got 2 other matches we got to talk about. So ladder match.
Ladder match. I thought was awesome.
Bianca
I thought Bayley.
I
thought innovation wise, and I think this is where Bayley shines the most. First of all, I think Bianca Belair is the best athlete in women's wrestling. Period. It's bar none. It's not close. She can do things that people just can't do. Bayley is, to me, the most innovative, and I thought I'd seen everything in the ladder match, and then I saw Bayley prop a ladder across the steps to the guardrail and then land an elbow drop that I, at the time, thought legitimately may have separated her shoulder, but it's one of the coolest spots I've seen in a long time. That was my favorite part of the match. I thought it was super entertaining. I think we both going in believed Belair would go over, and she did. And then, but I also thought high quality ladder match without question.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. And I do got one question based on this match, and I want to say this, and I don't want to quote this as a What Culture thing, but What Culture kind of posted articles talking about their opinion on Damage Control and saying it was a flop. Because of the fact that we had Bianca Belair not need anyone, she was able to get the double KOD on Kai and Sky. Haha, funny rhyming scheme.
Kai and Sky.
And then get the win over Bayley. One, what's next for Bianca Belair? And one, what's next for Damage Control? Because that made Damage Control look weak.
So interesting. I don't want to go too deep into this, but we've talked about this. I think Damage Control, the only issue is I don't understand. We talked continuity earlier, buzzwords while we're hot. Hashtag continuity. I don't understand why they're friends. Like why do they just listen to Bayley? There's no right. We haven't gotten a backstory. We haven't gotten a reason or a rhyme we haven't gotten anything other than Kai and Sky rhyme. That's our one rhyme we've gotten. And I think they're a cool group. Super stoked they're all back. Bayley, as you know, is like arguably my favorite women's wrestler, or maybe wrestler, by the way, men or women. I think she's amazing on the microphone. I love what she does in the ring. I think Bayley's cool as could be. Like I really like, especially as a heel. I think she's amazing. I don't know why though. so like just EO, Sky, and Dakota were just like, well, it's Bailey, like the role model thing's gone, like damage control, I get it, like it's CTRL or whatever, like it's like the control key on your keyboard, but why are they even friends? Like I've never even seen them share a drink or hang out. Like it was just like, here's the new group. And I think that's the one that gets me is about them. I don't think they're a flop at all. They all still are strong and they're all still a big deal. We all know, right? Like people don't forget the super bad line, Jonah Hill. You peed your pants in third grade. People don't forget, right? Like people don't forget. Like we know that they're a big deal, but I just don't understand. I would love to have like a why, would I think that's all, and I don't think they need saving yet, right, per se, but that'd be a real great way to get the train right back on the tracks.
So I mean, I guess I can kind of speak on that issue. There has been some photos of them hanging out.
No, I mean on screen. I mean during the show. I get it off screen that they're friends.
Yeah,
I'm not saying. I mean inside of kayfabe.
Yeah. And I think the other one was Bailey was gutted when Dakota originally got cut.
Of course, I do remember that too.
So
but again,
I don't know the exact. I don't exactly know the tweet, but
I understand that they're
been
shoot friends.
Correlate. Yeah,
but why are they together as an on-screen force in the context of the show? That's right. That's where I want it in the context of the show, right?
Yeah, I know.
Because it's nice when off-screen leaks into on-screen, but it's only off-screen there. And I know about that, right, too? But that's where I'm just like, on screen, it was just like, this is damage control. But like, how? Why? When? Where? Mm-hmm. Give me a backstory. Give me a reason. Mm-hmm. I guess is more my point there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I know you have that point.
Not that I don't think all three women are freaking great, because I do. I think they're as good as they get.
I'm not saying you don't.
Yeah. It's just, I just want to know how, where, when, what, why. Why are they, and what damage are they controlling? Or is it just a clever name?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, moving along, by the way.
Yeah. Moving along. I don't think there's much else to say about the strap match that we already did.
No, it was not great.
We got 2 more matches on the card. We got about.
I'm kidding. It was good.
We got about 20 minutes left. Let's go. Let's go with the opener. Let's go with that beautiful, good old fashioned Donnybrook match.
I mean, I hate to do this. I don't even want to cut us short on this, as far as like my insight, but like. Beyond just, it was a 6-man tag. It was the match of the night, and if you didn't watch it, you should, because it was just dead money. Like it was really rocks. If I had to complain about anything, it was literally just the shillelaghs made no sound, and they did seem awkwardly long and looked more like canes, like if you were limping. That's my only by the way, that's my only complaint. I thought the rest of the match was, number 1, the match of the night. Number 2, physical as could be. And number 3, like, can we please just call Butch Pete Dunne again? That's the last one. Sorry, Coby. Now you let me know what you think. But just
yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I was taking notes on this couple, some of the notes I just took before this, I thought of 2 words: insanity and chaos. Like it was what it was meant to be. Donnybrook was meant to be it was meant to be a brutal, almost a street fight, and there were a lot of innovative. We saw the Butch or Pete Dunne moonsault off the barrels. We saw the Celtic cross through the announce table on Gunther. We saw the use of the bar top being used to hold him as Gunther chopped Sheamus. Sheamus rising from the rubble of that bar top, if that's what it's called, the bar.
No, it was
the granite top.
that was
The
the bar
granite
top.
top,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
bar
just
top,
it
granite
was a
top,
bar
whatever.
table.
Sheamus getting that almost, I don't want to say it's the hot tag, but it was the hot tag of him rising from it, getting the crowd behind him. And like, this is, for WWE, this is the turn of the year. Sheamus's face turn has been phenomenal.
I think that it's the best thing that they've booked. Surprisingly, like, right, where in a long while. I don't think anybody saw Sheamus turning face outside of the UK until even like everyone saw Clash. It was amazing.
Yes.
But that was a little bit predictable. But what wasn't was the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's when it became like, oh, this is amazing and so organic and so cool and such good storytelling. And not only that, by the way, they turned the other two too. They didn't just turn Sheamus, they turned the Brawling Brutes. Like, they turned Ridge and they turned, I can't say Butch, Pete Dunne.
You just did.
I can't just call him that. It seems not right. It's Pete Dunne. He's got the gear back. He's got everything back. Give him his name back, boys. Come on, WWE. Give him his name back.
Yeah, like, I totally agree that was
of all of them.
It's very organic. The Sheamus face turn.
Theory gets Austin back. We're still calling Pete Dunne Butch. Come on,
settle
man.
down on the Butch. The Butch rage. Butch. Yeah, so like I said, I do agree with it being organic with Sheamus getting the cheers and all that.
Yeah.
And I think it is rightfully deserved too, because like, he is true. He's put on bangers after bangers when his career was almost over 3 years ago. Like, to say he's torn the house down with McIntyre multiple times. He tore the house down with Riddle multiple times. Ricochet. Damian Priest, he had some decent matches with. He even, like, these up to matches, like, he got a 5-star match. And that's just that, like, I don't want to, like, that's a 5-star Meltzer, I should say. And I mean, as much as you want to say that's a biased point of view, all that it's weird to say that people like Edge and John Cena have yet to, and Sheamus has.
It's wild.
But it is what it is at this point. And I do want to say the one thing that
I've given it only the FTR and Bucks. I'm kidding. As a reviewer.
No, we gave it in agreement to Cody Rhodes.
No.
Cody Rollins, Hell in a Cell 2.
I was there too.
Or Hell in a Cell, not Hell in a Cell 2.
I've given 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that lost my mind, the Donnybrook spot.
I'm so sorry. No, I get it, the Meltzer, 5 stars. And it's like, look, I think this is where you're kind of thinking, right? Like, are we forgetting about Sheamus, even though he's putting himself too in this spot, right? Like, where do you, not in a positive way, where do you go from here, Coby?
I don't want to say you separate them. I think you separate them. Because I like, and I saw this, and I obviously can't say I know who it was again who posted about this, and I feel like this is the position where you end up Gunther holding this title for a lot longer, and when we revisit this, and okay, it did come to mind. So there was the spot where it was in the match, and all men were on the ground. And Butch, Ridge, Vinci, and Kaiser are brawling, and Gunther and Sheamus are literally crawling up.
Crazy spot, yeah.
And it's just anytime these two men are gonna go face to face, you're getting that pop. And we saw it the night after, or the SmackDown after Clash, when they did it in the ring. When those two are staring, the crowd are gonna go wild.
Now, no doubt.
I think this is where you go to Mania, and you have the rematch with Sheamus, Gunther. I guess Sheamus, Gunther 3, and you have Sheamus put his career on the line.
Oh, I
and
love
you
it.
do have Gunther lose because
you have Sheamus go
like
over.
this gives Sheamus the big moment, but you've already built Gunther up so much. I don't know what's next for him necessarily because, like I said, there's a limited roster on SmackDown.
I totally did.
But yeah,
either way,
I
no
think
matter
that is
what,
where
we
you
both
go.
thought this was the match of the night.
I think it was one of two. Like I could go either way with I Quit or this one. I think this was more insane.
See,
but I
thought
do
this was
think the I Quit was
significantly,
just
and I know that's where you're
as
going,
solid.
and we'll talk about it. But wow. Okay, what a way to segue into the final segment.
Do it. The final part we have is the I Quit match.
Neither of us quit yet.
We did.
But we're about to talk about the I Quit match.
Exactly.
All right, Coby, you want to give us the
You want me?
I mean,
okay, so
I know.
Now, I mean,
Edge.
this is where we have a disagreements among us as just two people who like wrestling, talk about wrestling, all that.
Yes.
Finn Balor needed this win the most. We've seen Edge almost pretty much go over the entirety of this year, except for obviously Hell in a Cell. Or not Hell in a... What am I talking about? Extreme Rules, not Hell in a Cell. Because he won at Hell in a Cell in that great mixed tag match. So... And I want to say this I do want to say this was almost like a telegraphed way, is you were never going to have Edge quit unless it was Beth Phoenix getting hit, and she obviously still got hit with the concerto.
Yes.
But I do think this was a great match. It, like, people want to complain about it going long, and I don't think it. I think it went what it needed to go, because it started off in the ring, and then they went through the crowd. There was a lot of fun stuff in the crowd, including the hockey stick crossface, if you want to call it the crossface. Still, you can. The lift up into the arena wall. There was a lot of good stuff. I mean, almost the tease of a spear down the steps, which obviously was never going to happen.
Nope.
But it was like, oh my god! It was. But I want to say this. I do think Judgment Day has been really good for the last 2 months.
I'm not even going to go into the exact match right away. I'm going to go this. I've been an Edge fan my whole life. I thought the Rated R Superstar was as good of a heel as I could see. I thought he was awesome. First Money in the Bank cash in, amazing. I mean, frick, the live sex celebration was hilarious. I've been a long time Edge fan. I didn't like the Judgment Day when they started it. I didn't like the new music. I didn't like when he got Rhea Ripley's haircut. I didn't like when they made Finn Balor the leader of the Judgment Day for Edge, only because I liked it for the Judgment Day, because I didn't think it made any sense in the first place to have him as the leader. And it was so out of left field at the time. It was whatever. But between this and SummerSlam, I've been so disappointed in the last two. I think it was a fine match, but it was so telegraphed to me. I thought from minute one, okay, they're just going to beat the crap out of. As soon as Beth showed her face, I thought before the match, the only way Edge doesn't win. And I jokingly have been saying this to you for a while, Coby, that the Judgment Day are jobbers. And it's like, look, they lost to the Mysterios at the big show. They lost to the... But what bugs me even more is then Beth comes on and it was so obvious. It was like, okay. And then they hit her and it was like, oh, okay, whatever. And it was just like, Edge and Beth versus Rhea and Finn. Okay.
I mean, that I will give you that is I don't like that this is not the end. Stipulation matches like a Hell in a Cell, a No DQ, a Last Man Standing, all that should be the end of something. And I think the only way you can go is you're gonna go Rhea Beth. I don't think Edge needs to be in the ring. He can be in the corner of Beth, but I don't think I need Edge to be in the ring with either of them
And it's
anymore.
like, what is it going to be? Edge, Dominic versus Rhea and Beth? Come on, I mean, or is it Edge, Finn? I don't know.
Why would he? Yeah, I'd either say I
it's
think it would be Finn and Rhea versus Edge and Beth if it was a mixed tag match.
And why does he
But
have a faux
I
hawk?
don't know.
Why does he have to have a faux hawk? Come on,
Who?
man. Edge.
Dominic.
Edge. Why does he have to have Rhea Ripley's haircut?
I don't know. I think he just
Come
didn't.
on.
I think he just doesn't like the long hair anymore. It's easier to manage.
I get that too, by the way. I can't even talk. I'm a bald guy, but like, dude, I want the rated R superstar.
And I mean, I guess.
And it feels like a lot like the rated PG superstar.
In a way, I mean, this was a topic, of course, brought up off camera, and we're going to talk about it. As I don't want to say a small segue, but it is a small segue. We've almost seen the misuse of Edge being dark, because we saw it originally with his Edge and Rollins stuff.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And then months later, we saw him do the brood bath on Miz and Maurice.
Yeah, of all people.
That makes no sense.
And then they never had
the first promo they had, Edge and Miz, I loved. Like, it was
I thought it was great.
Promo.
The back and forth. I thought that
the back and forth was really good in December.
Wasn't what we expected.
Well, no, it was what I expected.
Or not expected. It wasn't what we hoped for, I guess, I would say.
I mean, I don't know. I would say
the follow-up. The initial promo was, but I mean, come on, dude. Like, they could have.
Yeah, right. They didn't need to go in the direction they did with the dark stuff.
Right.
And then there was the dark vignettes from Hell in a Cell to SummerSlam, which it was just like, okay, that telegraphed the SummerSlam match as we remember this for Edge's return. And then Edge and Ray versus Finn and Priest at Clash with Dominic doing the heel turn. And I feel like I don't think that match hurt him because it hurt the Judgment Day, because of the fact that it showed they still had some form of influence, and especially influence over Dominic.
Yeah. No doubt.
I don't like. This is the thing: is I don't want to see Edge go dark again.
Same.
If this, like, I don't need to see.
I would rather have him go
promo.
almost.
I like the promo he did on Raw where he was like, "This isn't a gimmick anymore. This is life."
So I was going to say too, though, Coby, I would almost rather have him lean into like rated R, go like edgy. Pun intended, right? Like, as opposed to dark, be like, I'm gonna be more like rated R, even if he doesn't actually go right like that, because he doesn't really have to. I mean, even when he was rated R, right, he never followed up on any of the rated R stuff, like, right, like the live sex celebration, they just ended up in the bed. Like, it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It's like, it was pretty tame, realistically speaking. Like, even if he leaned into that, I'd be fine, but like, I don't need like Edge. I don't need any more I guess like a fantasy Edge, right? Like, I don't need any more dark in that sense of like supernatural dark type.
Right.
Like, yeah,
right.
I don't.
And I mean, I'll end this with I'll end this based off a conversation, or not a conversation, a comment you just made, and you said you jokingly call Judgment Day jobbers.
Yes.
And this is where, of course, I'm going to make this a WWE versus AEW thing. AEW has made Jay Lethal a jobber.
Okay, I'll
Jay Lethal, one of the best.
I'll give you that. See, that's the difference. Is you won't
been a jobber.
You won't give
me AEW.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Good.
But give me Judgment Day.
No, they've looked good for the past 2 months.
See what I'm saying?
They have. If you're saying
Kobe,
aside from the couple,
calm down.
One match,
we are
fine.
Up against the clock here, dude.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to kind of finish this off with a bit of rapid fire. Halloween Havoc's the next NXT pay-per-view. We're going to kind of just go short answers. So we have a 5-way North American Championship ladder match. Solo Sikoa had to relinquish it due to not being an eligible participant for Carmelo Hayes. We have Carmelo Hayes versus Von Wagner versus Wesley versus Oro Mensah, formerly known as Oliver Carter, and the winner between Axiom and Frazier. Who do you got winning Axiom and Frazier, and who do you got winning the ladder match?
Axiom Frazier. I mean, I'm an Axiom guy myself, just like you. But I think Frazier is going to go over in the match.
And
What
then
was
who
the
wins the
follow-up
ladder?
question?
Who wins the ladder?
What was the ladder match? Say it again.
Carmelo Hayes, Von Wagner, Wesley, Oro Mensah, and assuming Nathan Frazier's in it, Nathan Frazier.
Carmelo Hayes.
You think Carmelo Hayes becomes a 3-time North American champion?
Yep.
Okay. I almost think if Nathan Frazier's in it, I actually think Nathan Frazier does win. Because, I mean, they put the seeds with Sanga saying, I hope you win the ladder match if you beat Axiom. And it's he's almost like the father figure, and then Veer Mahan showed up.
Yeah.
And whatever. But I do think there's a lot of money to be made, or not a lot of money, but I do think Nathan Frazier's a solid pick that can go with a lot of people in the ring. Okay. Weapons, the first ever Weapons Wild, to my knowledge, the first ever Weapons Wild match between Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Cora Jade. Only because
keep it short.
It shouldn't be Cora Jade. And I wanted you to pick Roxanne and then tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, no, I would have said I would personally I would prefer Cora Jade, but I do think it's a choreographed story. It's it's a telegraphed story of the babyface getting the win in the big match, and Roxanne's gonna go over. Yeah. We have an ambulance match for the first time in NXT.
I like that.
Julius Creed versus Damon Kemp. If Damon Kemp wins, Brutus Creed is banned from NXT. Well, I think that's as telegraphed with Julius Creed being the standout Creed getting the victory.
Yeah, and then that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. And then as far as we know, we have the main event being Ilya Dragunov, Braun Breaker, and JD McDonagh in a triple threat match. Who do you got? Do you got Braun Breaker retaining?
Honestly, of all of them, if Braun isn't getting called up to the main roster and doesn't retain, I'll be really disappointed.
Mm-hmm. That is very much.
And I like both other guys. That's not a knock on them. But if Braun isn't retaining or going to the main roster, I don't see how you could put either of the other two over Braun.
Right. And I mean, I guess this is me saying it. I do enjoy a lot of the stuff that the character development JD's done.
Oh, I think JD's awesome.
Jordan Devlin McDonagh. That's how I know
it's Jordan Devlin. It's Jordan Devlin. We can call him Devlin. I don't care.
JD McDonagh.
Yeah.
His character work with being just a sadistic freak.
No, I think he's outstanding.
Has been great since he joined the American side of NXT.
But it's freaking Braun Breaker.
Yeah, he had the match with Braun Breaker.
He's been so built and he looks so good. Yeah, so
does Braun Breaker does.
Yeah, and so
okay,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say one last thing. This concludes the Republic Ramble, and we are gonna have a couple last.
Oh yeah, okay. By the way, before we sign off, from both of us at the Ramble, Anthony. By the way, that's who we're talking to, Anthony from Opinions, and everybody at Wrestling Republic. We want to dedicate this episode to you and your family, the Rishardi family. Absolutely, we're here for you, buddy. We love you, and we miss you too. And then I'll toss it to Coby.
Yeah, so, if you're still here, for more wrestling news, rumors, debates, and opinions, make sure to check out the WrestlingRepublic.com, along with Wrestling Republic on Twitter, YouTube. Of course, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you'll know this is on YouTube, and it's Wrestling Republic with an A on Twitter. This episode has been dedicated to Anthony, our head of opinions, and the entire Rishardi family. Thank you, and cheers.